Hello and welcome to the Church Podcast, where we talk to church people about church things. I'm your host, Ben Young. Join me on this adventure as we talk with amazing church members, helps ministers, leaders, and pastors as they share their insight and wisdom on church and ministry. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Church Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited for the guests we have today. Where do I start? She's been a pastor, a missionary, a traveling minister, a youth pastor, a Bible school teacher, a Bible school administrator, and so much more. But without further ado, welcome, everyone, Reverend Stephanie Pack. Thanks so much for joining us.
You are welcome. It's my privilege.
Oh, my goodness. This is... I've been so excited, me and my wife, when we, talked to the guests about, we changed churches here. And I'm even trying to remember how we met you, but I think my wife met you first.
No, I met both of you.
You met both of us.
At a graduation party.
That's
About just a year ago.
That's right. We were at a graduation party and we sat yes, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Yes. We sat at the table together and we got to talking with you and realized that you were a Rhema grad. You went to Rhema. We're like, yes. Oh my goodness, really? And it was funny. It was like one of those weird things because I was like, we started talking and you started like naming all these names of these people that like we knew. And I kind of like looked at you like, okay, is this person?
Did you feel like you were on candid camera?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was so funny. But it was awesome. And, we've become great friends. We've had you over for dinner and we've gone to your house for dinner. Actually, we did that first. You invited us over. So anyway, man, there's so much to unpack here. And, I was telling we had you over for dinner, me, you, and my wife, and my wife's actually in the room
yes,
here.
She
so,
is.
Yes, this is great. So we were talking at dinner. I was like, oh my goodness, I wish we had a microphone here because there was so much stuff that we were talking about. And but anyway, I need to stop talking and let you talk. So
if I only heard that more often.
Yeah. So where do we start? I mean, we talked a little bit about at dinner, we were talking about how, you first found out, or just first kind of heard that you were called to the ministry. Could you share a little bit about that?
Sure. And I don't even think I figured out it was a call to ministry.
Yeah.
I was 4 or 5 and we had a big missions conference at church, and I had been contemplating, if you don't know, I think a lot. And so I remember pulling into our driveway in our big station wagon. Uh-huh. Yes. So that kind of sets the time frame for me. Yeah. But we had one of those Brady Bunch station wagons, so you can see it in your mind.
Yes.
And I can remember my sister wasn't with us. I don't know where she was, but my mom and I were in the car, and I looked over. So we pulled in, and I started crying, and I wanted to know, would God make me leave home? Oh, wow. And it was about, going to another country, having to leave her. Mm-hmm. I think I was probably 4 going on 5.
Wow.
And then I just fell in love with all things international and countries and people, and reading missionary books and wanting to study language and history and this and that and the other. And finally, I honed in on the area of international relations. Wow. So I found a college that I liked, and that's where I went. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 19, I went overseas for my 3rd year in college to England, and I went to a Christian concert, and I heard the voice of the Lord say, will you be a missionary to missionaries? Wow. And I said yes, and then I thought, well, what's that? And so it just started a whole journey. And I've done a little bit of everything since then.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So we were also talking about this, how many countries have you been in, or countries have you lived
or visited?
Let's say lived in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So lived in, obviously, the United States of America,
yeah.
England, and the Republic of Ireland. Wow. And then all the other ones would be short-term trips.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So, and if I say how many countries you've been in, I mean, a huge list.
It's several, but nowhere close to a lot of other people. But I have been here, there, and everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of it happened in my 20s and early 30s.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah. I need a new passport. Does that tell you?
So tell me about, I'm really curious. I mean, Jessica and I, when we went over to your house for dinner, tell me a little bit about like the story about when you were in college, and I think it was when you felt like you were supposed to go to Rhema. And
okay. It's something like that. So I had graduated from college. I went to Ireland as a missionary, came back, and then it's like, what do you do? My time in Ireland was split into two, and that was because I needed to come home and take the GRE. And so I assumed, and we'll make that very clear, I assumed because I had gone to college, had done well, and it wasn't if you get your PhD, it's when, that I started looking at seminaries. And I had been told by individuals who I asked the question of, what does it mean to you when I say missionary to missionaries? Mm-hmm. And then the first question usually is, well, did you get a Bible degree? No. You study religion? No. Well, you need to go to seminary. I mean, that's what I was told consistently.
Yeah.
So I found one that I liked and I was looking at, but I also knew that I wanted to work with missions and missionaries. So it would be really silly to rack up a bill when I was going to be working in that field. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'm going to need a scholarship. Uh-huh. So I started heading down that path. My father, on the other hand, was thinking Rhema Bible Training Center at the time, college now, and took me out for winter Bible seminar. And it was the first year that WBS was held in the brand new church. Oh, wow. And I met several people, and they all seemed nice. And I can remember my dad actually getting upset with me on a Friday morning, like throw the hands up in the air. Don't you know why I brought you out here? And he was so upset that I hadn't gotten the download from God himself, that I was supposed to come to Rhema instead of going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the college was actually the seminary was in California. Yeah. And my father had lived there. And he goes, I don't want you to go there. Do you know what it's like out there? And it was like he could see the axe falling wherever I was going. Yeah. And I literally just looked at him and I said, Daddy, if I could do both, I would, but I can't. I mean, that's literally what I said. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of left it there. And I knew that's what I believed that I needed to do. So we're talking maybe June. I knew that I was one of two people up for a full ride. And I could have gone from having my bachelor's to getting a mix of a master's and a PhD, which to me, it's like the no-brainer. Yeah. And about a week or so into June, I got a telephone call from the admissions department saying, well, we just want to let you know that we're sorry, but the other man who is up for this scholarship has a family, so we're going to give it to him. Wow. So it was no longer about who needed the scholarship, who wanted the scholarship, who was worthy of the scholarship. It was that I was a woman who wasn't married and didn't have a family. So I didn't know what to do. Wow. At that point, I was like, well, I guess I better check out Rhema. And I had big, long conversations with the Lord Almighty and talked to my pastor here and says, what do I need to do? And so I put in an application for Rhema. Still didn't hear anything. Well, we'll let you know, but probably he's going to get it. He has a family. And so a week before camp meeting, so fast forward a few weeks, and I get a phone call 3 days before we were supposed to leave for Tulsa. And they were like, congratulations, you have the full ride scholarship. And I was like, I had no idea what to do. I was like, I can remember sharing with someone saying, I need handwriting on the wall, Lord. Like, you've done that before. You're no respecter of persons. You can do that for me. So I went for camp meeting with my mom and my dad, and I wasn't really sure. I was like walking in kind of, on eggshells. Yeah. And it was the 25th anniversary of camp meeting. the whole look what the Lord has done, and they were people from all the different classes who were asked to come up and speak and tell what they were doing.
Yeah.
I listened to all of them. That I felt that there was a place for a woman, number one, that it wasn't like, well, get behind the guy because he has a family. And then the Lord says, well, you can do both. You can choose. What are you going to do? Which one do you want to do? I'll work with anything you choose.
Wow.
Well, that didn't help. And so, I mean, what do you do? Yeah. So as the week went on, Friday morning of a full week of camp meeting, I was like, I'll go to Rhema, Lord. But in the back of my mind, say I had a backup plan. Because I knew that they told me that the scholarship I received it would the start date of the you have to choose it or lose it is the time you put your application in. So that was January.
Yeah.
So I would have 2 years to start. Well, I'm like, I can do a year at Rhema, and I can go to California and go there. I mean, it works out perfectly. Doesn't that sound right in everybody's head? And so I chose to go to Rhema because obviously I could go and do the other.
Go do that.
And then I got to Rhema, and I went to orientation, and you both will remember this. And this doesn't count now, but at that time it was Rhema is a 2-year school. Let me repeat, Rhema is a 2-year school. And on the inside, I'm like, not for me, it's not. I have plans. I'm doing this, that, the other. And I would say that by December, I knew that I just needed to stay.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, okay, Lord, what do I do here? Because I knew that I could wait for another year, but then I wouldn't graduate because then I'd have to leave in the middle of the semester, which wasn't a semester then. You had to go the whole year or else.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I'll stay here. That's what I'll do. And so it really turned my life kind of like floop. But listening to how the Lord used all the different teachers, that we'd start having a conversation in one class, and then even like, well, I don't know why I'm saying this, but blah, 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 blah. And then you'd hear the bell, and you'd get out, and you'd walk to the next class. And then you'd start that next class. And before anything else started, before we start, I feel like I need to say blah, 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 blah. And it was the answer to what had started in the first class. So I was like, I need to be here. Yeah. So that's what I did.
What a great story. Yeah. I just remember that. And it's just so cool. And it really takes me to one of the things that we were talking about downstairs when we were having dinner, and about your attitude towards everything. And I'm saying this, I know you won't say it, but you're so humble. And like when Jessica and I met you, it's so funny. Like we were talking, and you were just like telling us, and we were asking questions, and we're like, what? You've done what? You've done this. And one of the things you said, I thought it was amazing, is one of the things, tell me about what you're talking about as far as when you were at different areas, not necessarily a specific area. You mentioned something about developing a missionary school. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you can tell us about that. But one of the things that you're talking about is like, you were sitting there, and you were like, how did I get here? Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Sure. I found myself in this situation multiple times, but at this time I was in my second year at Rhema. I knew a missionary. He and his wife were Rhema graduates, and they were working in Africa. Yeah. And they came back to the States, not because they were going to stop ministering, but because it was getting more and more difficult to go from nation to nation in Africa. So it was actually easier and less expensive if they flew from the United States to Africa.
Oh, wow.
So they were there in Broken Arrow, and I volunteered to help one day a week because I had been teaching, and so I had Fridays off after school. I said, I'll do whatever you'd like me to do. And the first day, I stayed late and made copies of cassettes. Yes, that dates me. Because he was going out ministering.
Yeah.
And so I stayed until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I had that very day learned how to make copies of cassettes.
Wow.
And did this whole big thing to send off. And I knew because of something that had happened that day that I was getting really excited about the next week. And that was that he said to us in a staff meeting that I was included in, well, we haven't discussed this, but last fall, the Lord spoke to me about being a missionary to missionaries. And I just about fell out of my chair because when I lived in England and went to the college, to the concert, that's exactly what the Lord asked if I would do, but no one had ever heard of it before. I mean, It was like, what did you say? What is that? And I tried to explain it. Well, yeah, we could really use that on the field, but you're going to have to convince someone that that's what's needed.
Yeah.
Hog tie someone or something. And so we go into this meeting. Literally, I'm brand new. I don't know anyone except the missionaries. And it's like, well, I've asked this fellow, and I was actually in the same office as the big, long working office. Well, I've asked him to help develop a missionary training school in West Africa. And on the inside of me, I was like, oh, this is so cool. I get to be here and watch him do it because then I'll know how to do everything. So I went away, and the next week I came back, and we went to staff meeting, and that gentleman wasn't there. But what did I know? I didn't know why he was there or not there. I mean, And so it was addressed at the end of the meeting. Well, I'm sure you've noticed that so-and-so isn't here. He and his wife have been praying, and they've decided that they don't need to be doing what we talked about last week, being a missionary to missionary and the missionary training school and developing that. And on the inside of me, I was like, I thought I was going to be able to watch someone else do it. Yeah. And then he looked at me and he said, Stephanie, will you do it for us? And I'll be real honest. I didn't say a word. I just went, But on the inside of it, I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then it was like, well, how do I do that? So I started volunteering my time and developing the application and all this stuff. So we had people on the Africa side doing everything. And I was basically going to take in all the applications and decide whether someone should go or not.
Wow.
So that's how this whole thing started.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just said yes.
Wow.
I just said yes.
And that's one of the things that you were talking about, I think, when you were saying, like, how I get this place? And it's just like like you said yes. Like you didn't go with any particular agenda. The Lord, you were just obedient to do what the Lord said.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was in front of me. I mean, I had already said I would come and help them. I had never heard this missionary talk about missionary training school. I'd never heard anyone talk about being a missionary to missionaries except the Lord. He was the only one who had said those words to me. I had never heard anyone else ever speak of that. Wow. So, what are you going to do? Yeah. So it came as a surprise. And then as I was working on the application and the process and this, I can remember sitting there kind of dumbfounded. Well, how do I know how to do this? Because I was doing it. Yeah. I was developing application questions. I was doing all this stuff. I was having conversations. And I really wanted to know, Lord, how do I know how to do this? Yeah. And he says, I want you to think back. And he started way back. I mean, way, way back. He says, do you remember doing this? Well, yes, sir. Well, do you remember that? Yes, yes. I mean, he just took me all the way through. And he's like, you're ready. You're prepared. And I was like, wow, I didn't even make a decision. In other words, I didn't go, I want to be a missionary to missionaries, or I want to work overseas, and so I need to do this and then this and go over here, and so I need this degree and this whatever. No, I just did what was in front of me, and he used it. So God's good that way. He knows where he wants to take you. Yeah,
yeah, he really does. And man, there's so many things. Well, one thing, I'm going to say this first before I don't want to lose it. Actually, no, let me go here. So tell me a little bit about, like when you say be a missionary to missionaries, tell me about kind of some of the stuff that would involve, like, or if somebody is like, well, what exactly did you do? How do you be a missionary to missionaries?
And again, my experience it all just kind of fell one thing at a time. And so my experience of working with missionaries is probably different than anyone else.
Yeah.
But it started administratively.
Okay.
Started making an application, having conversations, counseling, encouraging. Will you read the book of James 3 times, and we're going to talk every week, and you're going to tell me what you're learning.
Wow.
Because in my mind, having been on the field, you have to know that you know that you know that you're called to whatever, because you are always going to have opposition.
Yeah.
You're always going to have things that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know from each individual, well, how do you know you're supposed to go to Africa and go through the missionary training school?
Wow.
And many of them probably had never been asked anything like that. And well, I love Jesus. I want to go overseas. I want to do that. Well, but why is this? And so we would work it out to go, do you know that you know that you know that this is what you're called to do right now?
Wow.
Because if you're not, you're going to be in for some ups and downs and sideways all along the way.
Yeah.
So that's what I would speak to individuals. Now, with me, I started out administratively with the missionary training school.
Mm-hmm.
I researched, then I got into documentation, statistics, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, how do I know to do this? And says, well, who did you work for in college? And I worked for an econ professor, and that's what I did the whole time. So, it was like college stats and things like that. And it was just brought forward to that I was doing that then. Yeah. I mean, I had no background in that, but I had done something that I knew what to do.
Yeah.
So then it was teaching overseas. Then it was developing conferences in the States and overseas. And then it was writing textbooks for the Bible school, working with some of the languages that I had used previously. So it's just a little bit of everything. So, and that's what I found out, if someone asks, well, what have you done? Sometimes I feel as if I were counseling the person who is myself, like it's almost like jack of all trades thing, and that's usually not the way to go. You want to hone in. Yeah. But the Lord knew the recipe that I needed to bake the right kind of cake. Yeah. So I'm very blessed. There's been some ups and downs and arounds, but I've just had to choose to trust him. And how can I do that? Because I know him. Yeah. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make natural sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny. It really encourages me because a lot of the places my wife and I are at right now, because, like I changed careers recently, and we both have such a heart for ministry, and what does that look like? Well, we're not quite sure exactly what it is right now, but I mean, we will know, and we know what our season is right now, but we've had a lot of conversations about this. It's like, well, I don't have a degree in this, or I've done this, but I do this. And it's so encouraging, and this is really what I feel like the Lord's been dealing with me, and Jessica too, is the Lord's like, just know me, be close to me, and have your heart with me, and I'll show you the way. And just like I've heard you in talking so many times, like at dinner tonight, and now it's like you were doing this school and stuff, degrees, whatever. But the thing is, what the theme that I hear, the thing that God's ministered to me is like, you just were with God. You were at the right place because you're in the right place. Because why? Because you're with him and you're seeking him. And he just brought the right stuff into place. Yeah. And you did what you did because your heart was in the right place. And I know there was something I was going to say, and we were talking about, and hopefully it's okay, but we were talking about, you were somebody was telling me, well, like, I met with this person because they're this, and I feel like it's good to network. And I met with that person, and you were sharing, and, you can correct me or you can expound on it. But like, you were talking about like, well, I didn't try to like do these natural things. And not that, things aren't bad to do, whatever those things, like know people, but that wasn't your purpose and point. Like, oh, I got to network this person because I want to be a missionary to missionary. So that looks like a person. You were just with God. You were just seeking him. You were at the right place at the right time.
With the right people.
Yeah, with the right people.
Yes.
And I think that's so important. That ministers to me. And I feel like that would be something that would really minister to our audience because just wherever you are, part of the vision, talking
Yes.
about making this feel like a sense of a place of community, and for people who might feel lonely or whatever, just because you're at a certain point in life, or you feel like, okay, what am I doing? I'm here right now, or I'm doing this right now, and I don't feel like I'm making a difference, or man, I want to do this, and all of a sudden, but I don't have a degree in this. Just God is bigger than that.
He's so much bigger than that.
And
I would just say, do you trust him?
Yeah.
That's the biggest answer that you have to like, do you trust? And I can remember, do you trust me?
Wow.
Do you trust me?
Oh my
Well, just
goodness.
do what I ask you to do. Do you trust me? Does it make natural sense? Absolutely not most of the time.
Yeah.
You may have to try to explain to someone, why are you doing it that way? Or why this? Or why that?
Yeah.
Like, you think I could come up with any better ideas?
Yeah.
I know God gave me intelligence, but he is the creator God of the universe. He kind of put the whole thing together. So who would know better than he? It's not me. So, I can imagine and think and do all of that stuff, but how to get from where I am now at any given time in my life to what is next?
Yeah.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I trust you. I'm going to hang out. Now, does that mean it's easy? No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it mean it makes sense to my natural mind? Not always.
Yeah.
And there are seasons.
Yeah.
But are you still going after the things of God? Are you still doing everything that he shows you to do? Then you simply, I know this sounds so simple, like simple, stupid, but do you trust him?
Yeah. Wow.
Is he a good God? Yes.
Wow.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts I think about you. Some versions say, I know the plans that I have for you, thoughts I think about you. What? They're for good and not for evil. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future.
Yeah.
And the next two verses, 12 and 13, then say, well, if you know that, and then you know me, well, then you're going to seek me and you're going to find me when you seek me with all your heart. So,
Yeah.
he's given you the recipe, and I love to cook and bake. Like if I'm given a recipe.
She's a very good baker and cooker, by the way.
But if I'm given a recipe and I don't know how to start something, at least the first time around, I don't need to be changing up the recipe if I've never done it before.
That's good.
So if he's the head cook, he's the chief bottle washer, he's the everything, why wouldn't I trust that he's going to take me where I need to be?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
That is, wow. That is so good.
And he's never failed me. He has never, ever failed me. He's taken me in positions that I didn't quite understand. What was I going to do? I've had things happen that were heartbreaking, that you're like, I'm just going to sit here and cry a little while.
Yeah.
And as I shared with you all, during one situation, the Lord actually said to me 3 days after the fact, did I fall off my throne? Okay, so if the Lord says that to you, you kind of listen, all right?
Yeah.
Did I fall off my throne? And I answered him out loud, no, Lord, you didn't fall off your throne. Yeah. And then he says, well, did this catch me by surprise? Mm-hmm. No. And then he says, do you trust me?
Wow.
So, every situation, he pretty much says the same thing to me if I start to go, well, I don't know. What about this? What about that? Well, how about that? Do you know how much time has gone by? Do you know? Hello. Nobody knows where I am. How do they get in contact with me? So everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
And I think I said to you, you all at dinner, is like compromise. Well, compromise is one, but usually when we compromise is when we start comparing. Do not compare yourself with anyone else. You're unique. The Lord has given you gifts and talents. He knows exactly where he needs you.
Wow.
Don't get frustrated. Either give up or just, I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
I can do this, Lord. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I got
I'll
this,
talk
Lord.
to you when I need some more
Yeah.
help,
We'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. Well, maybe if I can really do it by myself, I just won't bother you. Like, why would I be that way? Like, why would I be silly? Why start with him and then try to do it on my own?
Yeah. Well, I think that's great that you touched on that. And I'm glad you're bringing these things out, because I'm like, oh, thank you. Because these are all wonderful things that when we were talking at dinner, but the comparison thing. And I think that's, man, I've talked to other people about this, and I hear people talk about that. And I've heard ministers talk about that, how important it is not to do that. And,
Yes.
and obviously you've been so many places, helped so many people in churches. And I know that you've seen that. We were talking a little bit about that. People who weren't doing what this ministry might be doing, and they thought maybe they were failures or not doing the right thing because they were not a mirror of that.
Yes.
And it was never intended for them to be a mirror of that, right?
No.
It was supposed to be.
Did God say to go out and do the exact same thing that brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so was doing? No, he just told you to go.
Yeah, yeah.
And can you look at it? Is it being blessed? Is the word being taught? Are lives being changed? Well, yes, but it doesn't look like so-and-so. Mm-hmm. Well, I should have more people by now, or I should this, or I should that. You will end up in a hole so deep that it's going to be so hard to crawl out of.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're looking at yourself and you're comparing yourself and what you think you look like, you sound like, you do, you don't know, with everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you get stymied, you get frustrated, you do the whole woe is me, or, decide to beat up on yourself for a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't help at all. Oh my goodness.
So are you going to trust him? Or you're not?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds simplified.
Yeah.
But it's true. Wow. Do you believe the word? Mm-hmm. Or not?
Wow. It's simple, but it's profound, and it's so true. Do you trust him or do you not?
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's as simple as that, really, when it comes down to it. And once again, like I said, it's just, this ministers to me so much, and I'm sure my wife too. It's just like, just knowing like, hey, Lord, I trust you. I may not understand, why am I here or what's going on here. I don't see the full picture or whatever, but God does. He knows.
He does.
And
he's
sees.
so patient.
Yes.
I could tell you, I don't have everything together.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know who does have everything together, but
yeah, exactly.
And you're like, Lord, you're still talking to me. You're still ministering life to me. You're still speaking about future things to me. Well, then, okay, if I'm missing it somewhere, I am so sorry. Help me.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone who's listening to me, just ask for help.
Yeah.
You need wisdom? Ask for wisdom. The whole idea of James chapter 1, you need wisdom? Mm-hmm. He's not going to beat you up for asking, so ask for wisdom.
Yeah.
You need help? He's our aid.
Yeah.
You need someone to comfort you? Ask him for help. You need, what do you need?
Yeah.
He is all in all, and he's not withholding. He wants to show you things to come, and just don't get ants in your pants.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you have to do something.
Yeah.
What are people going to think about me if I'm not doing something?
That's so, man, that's preaching to me. And I'm sure it is others, but I think that's been another journey that I've been on, thinking like, and I know, I know it in my head, I know it, but I've gone so many times like, oh, okay, man, I got to figure out how to do this, or I got to figure out, I know I'm supposed to do this. How am I going to do this? I got to figure this out. And God's like, I could just see him like right next to me with his hands up, like, hello.
Like, really?
Like, I'm here. I'm not like off in this,
Yeah.
this other area somewhere. Like, I'm with you. I'm not expecting you to figure it out. I'm with you. I'm here to show you and help you. And I've had to learn that. And I've talked a lot about this. Jessica hears me talk about it all the time. But it's so true. It's been for me, it's like just knowing that in my heart, not just my head, like knowing, hey, God, you care about me and you want you're here to help me. If we just
Yes.
just ask, like you said, if you have any of you lacks wisdom,
Let him
ask and he'll
ask.
beat you over the head and give it. No, ask and he'll give you freely.
Yes, yes.
And I just think that's, man, that preaches to me, if any, but I'm sure it preaches to so many others.
Well, I just think, again, and it's so important to allow the Word of God and to allow His Holy Spirit to speak to you. And not for you just to go, oh, okay, yeah. But Brother Hagin said when I was in school, you got to let it drop the foot from your head to your heart.
Yeah.
And then you've got to actually do what's in your heart.
That's
you can't,
good.
it doesn't, I used to say to my students at Bible college, there is no Disney magic wand.
Yeah.
Like poof, it's all going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to walk it out.
Yeah.
But you need the head knowledge. You need to renew your mind with the Word of God.
Yeah.
But you need to allow that to soak down into your heart, into your spirit, man.
Yeah.
So that when He asks you to do whatever, then you say yes, then you do it.
Yeah.
So and that's not a one time. That's consistently over a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like, okay, I did it and cool, chill for a while.
Yeah,
and then,
check mark.
No, yeah. But no, it's a constant relationship, dependence on Him,
Yeah.
just following Him and walking with Him.
Yeah.
Wow. So, as we finish this up, I really already know the answer, but I want to ask you, I asked you this at dinner and I said, if you've we've talked about all the stuff you did, you missionary pastor, all these things. I said, so what would you tell ministers, missionaries? Like what would be something that you would tell them? Obviously I'm asking you.
Okay, so I have not said this to you, but I would say Proverbs 3, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not into your own natural understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths.
Wow.
And when we know that He's also the lamp that lights our paths, He's the Word, He's not going to take you somewhere He doesn't want you.
Wow.
And He doesn't take you to the bridge out.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. He
Yeah.
doesn't take you and drop you off in the middle of nowhere and go, well, just get out of here the best you can.
Yeah.
No, He's there with you every single step of the way. Now, you have to keep your heart right. You have to keep your eyes open. You have to clean out your ears with your Q-tips. I mean, you have to remain willing and able. You've got to say, yes, Lord, what do you need me to do?
Wow.
Doesn't matter what it looks like, who thinks it's a great idea, who not. Now, that's not to say you go off half-cocked and you don't ask for counsel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you stand before the Lord.
Wow, that's good.
Not you and however many people that you've asked over a lifetime.
Wow.
So, my heart is to see people successful in what God's called them to do.
Wow.
Whether that's preach behind a pulpit, whether that's to be the greatest Sunday school teacher you can be, whether that's to go overseas. Have you said yes? Wow. Are you saying yes?
Wow.
And sometimes it's the smallest things that can create the biggest problems.
Wow.
Little foxes that spoil the vines.
Yeah.
You trip and you think, what did I just trip over? And you look over and you've had this not a molehill, a mountain of junk under the carpet that you just tripped over because you haven't wanted to deal with it. And I mean, there are things that I know that even day to day that aren't my favorite things to do, but need to be done.
Yeah.
And I'm just asking, Lord, I thank you for mercy. Wow. I think you are so merciful to me. I think you'll take me where I need to go, need to do. If I don't know how to do it, if I need a swift kick in the pants, I mean, what is it? And so how can I help people? It's to be what they need in that situation. So if you have a conference and you need someone to come in and run something and show someone how to do it, if you go in and run a camp, if you lead a women's conference, if you anything that ministry or individual needs, how can I help fill that role for the time being?
Wow.
Now, you don't want them to be there forever. You want them to pick up the skill set to be able to go on for themselves.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm behind the pulpit? Well, great. I love to teach. Even I never thought it would happen, but at some point I found myself preaching to the homeless on a park bench.
Wow.
Who would have thought? I was just there and it needed to be done, and I said yes. I mean, it's you just do what he asks you to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that any one of us get it right 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Because we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
And got to remain teachable.
Yeah. Wow. That's...
I mean, hello. You just have to remain teachable. You not get too big for your britches. Don't let your head get too big. You don't know everything. And let the Spirit help you.
Wow.
Let Him show you the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. That was gold. I can't, like I said, this is, well, I know it's ministering to people, and I know I'm repeating myself, but that ministers to me so much. And I said it downstairs at dinner, and I'm going to say it. We're going to have you on a second time, because there's just too much. Like I feel like we've covered what we needed for this one, but there's so much. I'm excited about having you back. So it's going to be so cool.
Because this was my first go at a podcast. So, hey, I feel really good about that.
Oh my goodness. So anybody, would you ever believe that? I would never believe that. And like one thing I was going to say, having these headphones on, like you have the perfect podcast voice. It is.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
It is like, yes. I'm like, oh, it's like so soothing. So thank you.
I've had people tell me that before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can
and then
see
I
that.
can start talking like this, and I'm right at home too. So yeah.
Well, before we go, I wanted to make sure, because I know we've talked about, I mean, you've done so much. You do consulting. Like you said, you talked a little bit about some of the things you do. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I want people to know, and then maybe how to get in touch with you if they need help. Yeah.
I pretty much, if you ask me to come, if I have money in the bank and can see a way to do it, it might have to be put off a little bit, but I will say yes. I do go, and if there's an offering, it goes right directly to Faith International. I live by faith.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's going to take you this much. I do stay with people.
Yeah.
So that's the majority of times that I have been places and done things. It's because someone has me in their home.
Yeah.
And yes, I have gotten put up in hotels before, but more, I would say a larger percentage of one is I've come in and stayed with someone. Wow. And it could be, like I said, the kind of the behind the pulpit, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You have a problem on staff. You want to know how to put a program together. I spend time with ministers on the phone, just being someone who understands where they're coming from, and it's a safe place. So you can call it counseling. You can call it, consulting. You can whatever. It's like what is needed.
Yeah.
I've run everything from conferences to youth camps to all kinds of different things. I love to teach. I like to see the lights go off as I'm ministering the word.
Yeah.
I've, just like I said, I've said yes.
Wow.
So anybody can contact me on my personal Facebook page. Yes, I can talk. And it's just Stephanie. A, my middle initial, Pack, P-A-C-K, like you pack a suitcase, traveling minister, Pack. So you can remember that and just send me a message and we can start a conversation.
Wow.
So, sometimes we just need someone to talk to, so I believe I'm called just to help people be more successful than what they believe they are right now. And they may even be doing better than they think they are.
Yeah.
And you just need some encouragement along the way.
Yeah.
So, nothing's too big for our God. Wow. I mean, He's taken me across the world, helped me do things I didn't know that I even knew how to do.
Yeah.
So He'll do that with you too.
Well, and I just love that, because it's not like you're just this person who like, hey, I'll help you out. You've lived this, you've done it, you've been all over the world. And I mean, it's just amazing to have you on here and to be able to talk. So you would just to hear those things, you're not just, you're somebody who's been there.
And I would just say, we serve a big God.
Yeah.
We sing about it. We write about it. We use it in our sermons. No. We serve a big God who knows the end from the beginning. And we can trust him with our lives.
Yes. Wow.
We can trust him. Wow. So, church has changed a lot in the last 10, 20 years. And we do things a lot differently. But that doesn't mean that people in your church don't need the gifts. Mm-hmm. They need them. They need to have the fivefold ministry coming in. Mm-hmm. If I can help in that way, if it's just you need to talk through a situation, whatever needs working.
Wow.
Whatever needs to be done to cause you to be more successful in what God's called you to do.
Wow. Well, once again, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What an honor to have you on. Once again, everybody, if you need to get in touch with Reverend Stephanie, it's Stephanie A. Pack on Facebook. And definitely reach out if you need something. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to join us next time for another great show on the Church Podcast. Thank you for joining me on the Church Podcast. How has the Church Podcast impacted you? Do you like the content? Would you like different content? I would love to hear from you. Email me at thechurchpodcastwithben@gmail.com or go to my website, thechurchpodcastwithben.podbean.com. Are you enjoying the podcast? Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Once again, thank you for joining me on this journey of the Church Podcast.